What's up? We are live back with another episode of Nerdology. This one's a great show for you guys today. Of course, you know it's your boy Chris from CL Smooth here with my partner in crime, Jai from Hey Jai and a plethora of other things, and the founder of IMS Productions. So, a lot to talk about today, Jai. But before we do, we got to do our weekly catch up. Tell people how we've been doing this past week.
Really good, really good, really good. Man, I have been deep in the nerd streets. As you can see, I'm wearing my Kakashi Naruto shirt. Yes, sir. IMS is about to get in. Not just IMS. I'm sorry. Nerdology is about to get into that anime space because summer anime fans, we got a lot of good stuff coming. So those are gonna come in later episodes, but. Been deep into that, been deep into getting hyped for Fantastic Four and Doomsday. Just seeing just a whole bunch of different fan theories and things like that. So I've been on my real nerd research bag. But biggest thing, of course, Superman trailer, which we will get to shortly. So excited for that.
Before we go any further, everybody like, comment, subscribe to CL Smooth, like, comment, subscribe, IMS. Go follow me on Twitch because right after this stream, we'll hop it over to Twitch. We'll be playing a little Red Dead 2, little late night stream, just kicking it. So y'all go follow me on there. Thank you to everybody who has followed me so far on that. That's been pretty cool. And we're at 105 subscribers now, so we're just gonna keep climbing. Let's try to get to 110 now. So without further ado, John, man, let's start the show, man. We got a lot to talk about, and as you already alluded to, yes, Superman has dropped a new trailer, or I should say, DC has dropped a new trailer for the upcoming Superman, and so I watched it. There's a lot to break down in this trailer. We're gonna watch it together as well. But just real quick initial thoughts. I think this was the trailer that we got to see. It was hype. This was the trailer we got to see Superman, like this version of Superman, show his full potential. I wouldn't say full potential, but like his strength, right? Like we got to see some of the powers, the iconic powers that he exhibits. So I think this was a much needed trailer, and it kind of begs the question before we watch it: is the hype at an all-time high for this movie?
I think so. I think that they paced it. In hindsight, I think they paced it perfectly because for a long time we were like, "Why are we not hearing anything about this movie?" Okay, we just got a little snippet. We keep seeing the same things over and over. It's not really explaining anything, not really getting too deep in anything, and then bam. Got a little bit of the trailer before this, with the dialogue with him and Lois, and you saw some of Guy Gardner and things like that. But this right here, this is the one that's gonna make people go see the movies. This is what turned it from a superhero movie to a potential blockbuster. Right. And I'm calling it right now. This is gonna be probably the highest grossing comic book film of the year. I'll go ahead and put a pin on it.
That brings me to like my next thought, right? Is that obviously whether it's fair or unfair, whether we're talking about directly or not, it's competing with Fantastic Four. In a way, it is competing with Fantastic Four.
It's a week apart.
Right. So they're a week apart. Obviously, DC and Marvel are like rival companies, we remember a while back we made our list about like what we're most like hyped for, and we both agree Fantastic Four was number one.
Absolutely.
I don't know, has this surpassed that?
Yes. For me, yes.
I would say so for me too. Like
the coolest part about that scene was the teeth bouncing back off the camera. Like that was so tight.
It shows the cinematography of like what we're gonna expect in this movie. I think this was the trailer that we kind of like we finally got like how this movie's gonna feel and look. It's gonna look very like it's gonna have a little bit of a cartoonish aspect to it. Like even like the teeth scene kind of looked a little cartoonish. You could kind of tell that the movie is not gonna be like that serious. You know what I mean?
I like the fact that it's just in the visual effects alone, the camera angles, how they're handling things. Yes, you can see the CGI, but it isn't like how it was like with the Flash movie or where it's just too overbearing. I like that it's not going to be a Marvel movie. It's not going to be a Marvel movie, but DC version. And that was like one of my biggest fears with this, which is why I think what went wrong with the Snyderverse a lot, was that they just kept trying to copy and paste Marvel's formula and put it with DC characters. And it's like, no, this is his own thing. Big shout out to James Gunn. I'm glad that we get to see giant kaiju level, like Superman vision. That was fire. First look at that. That's one of the more iconic Superman powers. They got him fighting with Crypto, so I'm glad that Crypto isn't just like a mascot in this movie. You saw the conflict with Guy Gardner, him interacting with the other heroes, Mr. Terrific. So yeah, man. I think this is gonna be the trailer. Just going off the trailer itself, I think that, like I said, I think it's gonna be the highest grossing movie. I think it definitely surpassed the Fantastic Four hype. Just because who Superman is, who he represents to just superhero stuff in general, comic book stuff in general. So, there was already going to be a lot of hype there. And what we're getting is a Superman that, and I said this before with some of the buildup, this pretty much all but confirmed it from me, especially with like the jokes and the dialogue and stuff like that. We're getting a Superman that we got in the cartoons, our era of Superman. We're getting somebody that's quirky, corny. We're getting, just like a cool guy. Like I said, the distinct difference between Carol and what we felt that Cornerstone was going to be is going to be, this is a guy that grew up in Kansas who discovered that he's Superman. This isn't a guy trying to discover his place on Earth. This is a guy on Earth trying to figure out how can he be a hero. And we got those vibes a lot. So I'm really excited for it.
James Gunn actually touched on that. I think I saw him in a podcast or an interview. And he's building up hype for the movie. He's talking about the movie, and he kind of like gave a little bit of backstory, right? Like he said that superheroes have been, I think he said it was like 300 years that superheroes have been existing in this universe. Superman has been a hero for 3 years. So, and you could go in very different directions in that. Like you could say that, okay, well, 3 years is not that long of a time. So is he still figuring some things out? Is he still learning it along the way? But also you could also spin it where, 3 years, it's like, okay, he's not a rookie. He kind of knows what he's doing. Maybe there's still some things that he's learning, he's figuring out along the way. Maybe there's, I think for sure, like what we've already gotten with this, with the set of trailers that we've already gotten for the film, he's sure of himself. He's confident. It's not the same as Cavill Superman, where he's kind of like you said, like he's learning to come to terms with who he is. I think this Superman is definitely a lot more confident, a lot more sure of himself in the beginning, like off the start. Like obviously Cavill became that, So this trailer was, I think, obviously the best trailer of all, like of so far that we've gotten, and I think it gives us the most insight of what we can really expect with the movie. Like I'm with you. Like it has surpassed Fantastic Four for me as well, just because of one, the cinematography looks crazy. Right. It looks insane.
It looks like almost something like out of like some of the sequences reminded me a lot of like an action movie, or kind of like not necessarily just like The Matrix, but something like that, of the emphasis on like the fights. Of course, like with the slow-mo, the kind of the emphasis on the dynamic movement. It just didn't seem like fight choreography. This didn't seem like something that could happen in real life. Like, it feels like that I'm watching a movie, if that makes sense. And I think what Marvel does a good job at is kind of like merging that realism. So I'm glad that DC is just like, we're just going to pivot. We're going to let you know. You're going to know that you're watching a movie and that these people are supposed to be exceptional. These aren't supposed to be like relatable people. Superman isn't supposed to be relatable. He's supposed to be super. Like his problems are supposed to be super, his powers are supposed to be super. So, and I think that kind of leans towards something with the cast as well. Like, well, not the cast, but more so the other characters that they tried to bring in. Because if you noticed, they brought in all like alien characters or like high level metahumans. Like it wasn't. There is no Batman or Flash, who was kind of just a guy who did a science experiment. No Green Arrow, nothing like that. No, you got Superman, you got Hawkgirl, you got Mr. Terrific, you got a Green Lantern, right? Like, they're keeping the theme of it's almost like a theme of wonder, which I think that's something that James Gunn kind of took from Guardians of the Galaxy. Because, like how those movies were fun, but serious, but it was also kind of like spectacular. It lets you know that you were like not just looking at like Earth and movie with stuff that's going on. So
do you kind of see like a Guardians of the Galaxy, not like in terms of just like how the movie's shot, Like, can you kind of see a little bit of that style in this? Because I kind of can't. Like, for me, I can see it a little bit.
I get the vibe, not necessarily in terms of just how it's shot. Man, Mr. Aldridge would love how we're breaking down.
No, he really would.
How we're breaking down film right now.
Rest in peace, Mr. Aldridge.
Rest in peace, Mr. Aldridge. But no, not necessarily how it's shot, but some of the dialogue that they were talking about in the trailer. And I saw actually a lot of DC fans complain about that. They're just like, "Oh my gosh, this is just Chris Pratt in Superman costume." No, it's not, because any iteration of Superman, like, if you have that opinion, that means that your only iteration of Superman was from Henry Cavill, right? Which, again, I like the iteration, but it was different. It wasn't the Superman that we're used to. Go back and watch the Superman animated series. Go back and watch the Justice League. Go back and watch the Reeves Superman, the Christopher Reeves Superman. You know, he was always that guy, that confident, that jovial, that jokey, because he was supposed to be like the perfect man. You know, right. He was supposed to represent something like everybody's supposed to like Superman. So of course they're going to make him likable. Of course they're going to make him tell a joke whenever something serious is going on. You know, he isn't just going to be serious and stoic and dark. No, that's what you had Batman for. Right. So
I tell you this much. Like, for me, a lot of things are starting to grow on me. Like, I've always been on the camp saying I'm willing to give Cornsweat a chance. I'm willing to give James Gunn a chance. James Gunn obviously has a tremendous track record, obviously with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So a lot of things are growing on me. Like, a lot of the details that we're seeing in the film already. The suit actually is, believe it or not, is growing on me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm starting to see the vision with it. Right? It's
right.
So another cool little detail, like you mentioned that we got his heat vision. His heat vision is like put the burn marks around his eyes and stuff like that. Those are kind of like cool details that I think we've seen in iterations, but we haven't seen in like live action before.
Right.
James Gunn is really bringing this really different feel to Superman, and that's cool. Like, I'm cool with different, and so he's paying homage to the past. He's paying homage to the comics. I like that. We're getting a lot of unique characters that we haven't really seen in live action before. These are characters that I actually thought that the DC, like Snyderverse, really could have explored more. You know, don't get me wrong. I like Cyborg. I like, obviously Flash is classic, but you know, like Aquaman. I like those guys, but I think this universe is definitely about to go a whole lot deeper.
Yeah.
You know, with the comic book lore, the DC lore. So I'm really excited for that.
And just as like a legit Superman fan, we're seeing the clips of some of the people that work in the Daily Planet. You know, outside of Lois Lane and Chief Perry, you know, like most of the people in the Daily Planet, they weren't really highlighted and stuff like that, but we're getting and I it sucks I'm blanking on her name right now, but the gossip column girl, that was the girl that was taking a selfie. We're gonna have a Jimmy Olsen. Like, they're really getting deep into expanding the character, but also just going different parts of the universe. So really like that. I will say my one gripe that has been in all the trailers, and none of the trailers have convinced me otherwise. I am not looking forward to this Lex Luthor.
Really? Why not?
He doesn't look cool, man. He doesn't seem cool. I didn't like the Lex Luthor in the Snyderverse. I mean, I know they're gonna try to make him, but he just doesn't seem cool, man. I'm used to the Lex Luthor, like I said, like for us in our day and age, our first iteration of superheroes were the cartoons. And Lex Luthor, the Superman cartoon, was the cool billionaire. Like, he was evil, but he was the cool, suave guy. I thought it was black. Apparently, he was supposed to be a Greek guy, but
I thought it was black too. In the animated series, I thought it was black.
Yeah, you know, it's the guy with the bald head, and then it's like, in all the trailers I've seen, we just see like some jealous, rich, bald nerd, and it's like, nah, man. Like, I want the cool billionaires. Lex Luthor is supposed to be like evil Tony Stark.
I will say this,
and so like that's what I'm looking for.
I think of it like this. Yeah, I agree with you. That's the kind of Lex Luthor I grew up on. Like, obviously, the animated series, he was like cunning, cool, collected. You know, that evil genius who's just had all the money in the world. And he used his money to basically put himself on the same level as the superheroes to combat them. Right. That's all cool and dandy. I will counter with this though. Gene Hackman.
Well, I said phenomenal actor.
Yeah, rest in peace, Gene Hackman, by the way. Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor, I thought is kind of like, he was like kind of goofy too, and he's iconic. It's kind of like, he's like, if you're going to like look at Batman's villains, like he's like Jack Nicholson's version of the Joker type guy. Like he's from that older generation. But Gene Hackman's version of the character was kind of like, he wasn't that serious. Like, I mean, he was kind of goofy, a little jokey. He had the one-liners. And my fear with this Lex Luthor, and I'm always blanking on this guy's name. He's actually in a ton of movies too. But my fear with him is that he's neither of those things. Like, he's neither the one we saw in the animated series, and he's not what Gene Hackman was. Like, he's not going to give us comedic relief. And I don't want a boring, stoic character in Lex Luthor. So he has to be one or the other for me. That's the way I look at it. But so that's the only counter I had was like, okay, Lex Luthor does not have to be that type of guy. But in order to make that work, you have to be like a Gene Hackman type.
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. There you go.
Nicholas Hoult.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I don't want him to be like the Jesse Eisenberg one, or where it's kind of like, I get it. I think they're going to focus too much on him being the genius, which he was a genius, but he was also very charismatic, like in the comics and in TV shows. Mm-hmm. Like he became the president of the United States, elected in. So he wasn't just mad super villain. He was cool villain. He was supposed to counteract Superman's "aw shucks, I'm from Kansas."
Yeah, right.
So
I guess what I didn't like about the Snyderverse's Lex Luthor was that they almost portrayed him as like he was insane.
They make him seem like the Joker. He
seemed like the Joker. Yeah. Like that didn't fit. That did not fit at all.
But that's a Jesse Eisenberg thing. Jesse Eisenberg, he's almost going to be typecasted into that because that's what he was in Social Network. That's what he was in Now You See Me. That's kind of, you're right. He kind of gets typecasted into that. So I saw the vision with him, but I think he would have been better off as a Joker. But where the Snyderverse was going, you can see why you would want somebody like that. But if you're going to pivot into the fun classic Superman, the fun classic DC universe, it was cool, Lex Luthor, man. That's all I want. I just want somebody cool. And they tried to make him look cool. He got his girl with him.
He got his girl, his sunglasses. He got the trench coat.
He got the trench coat.
He swagged out a little bit.
But he just seemed like such a nerd. And then the scene where he was screaming, like I was like, all right.
I see. Like I
I'm open to being wrong. He could be cool. Nicholas Hoult is a good actor. So he could be cool. He's a good actor. He's cool to see him play a villain. Mm-hmm. He was most recently known for being a Beast in the X-Men films. So
there you go.
We'll see. But I'm definitely way more hyped for this movie than I was before. And the Fantastic Four, I don't think it's too much that Fantastic Four can say, because I think that they're really just using this as a stepping stone for Doomsday and stuff. So I don't think it's too much for the Fantastic Four in itself that it can actually do to generate any more hype, to be honest with you.
I think both films have released, if I'm not mistaken, I think both films have already released 4 trailers at this point. So we're just a few weeks away. I don't think at this point, this is, by my estimation, probably going to be the last trailer for both, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to get them. So after 4 trailers each, I think I'm left with having to change my opinion. I think we're both at that point where Superman has generated more buzz. You got us talking about where I think this could be the start of the evolution of where superhero films are trending. Like, where are we going? Are we going back to that more comic book, cartoonish vibe? Where for a period, I don't know what I think. Honestly, I think what kicked that off was the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy of just very serious superhero movies. Because I mean, even those early MCU movies were a little campy.
Yeah.
Even they had some camp to it.
They had like the one-liners and the little moments, and like the Thor not the Thor movie. The what was it? The Hulk beating up Loki, and he was like puny god or something like that.
Well, I even looked at it from like those early MCU and Marvel movies were more of just like when you went to the bookstore, you bought a comic book, and it was just a darker comic. It was just a more of like a not like for children, but for like maybe teenagers or stuff like that. That's kind of where the vibe that they gave me. It was like Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy was the first one that I got the vibe of like this is the era of serious superhero movies.
It was, and I think that was needed, just because I mean, nerd culture has never been more popular than it is now.
Right.
So I think that was kind of needed to make it profitable. You had to make it digestible for, okay, how are we going to bridge the casual audience? And a lot of it became, okay, what are we going to do to make a good movie? Because I think, and this was kind of like my critique with the Batman movie that just came out with Robert Pattinson, which I felt like it was too into that. But I think with the Christopher Nolan trilogy, you could kind of replace the character Batman with, let's say, it could be a Jason Statham movie. That's how I can describe it. It could be a Jason Statham action movie, right? And that doesn't take anything away from it, of it being good. It doesn't take anything away from the performances or the portrayal of the characters. But how it was formatted was like a regular action movie. And I think that the early superhero iterations had to do that. But instead of, once they got established ground, going straight into comic book movies, they went into the family-friendly route, the family fun route of it. And that's where the Disneyfication of it. And so I think what James Gunn and DC have the chance to do is to go full on. We're going full on comic book, right? We're making this for the comic book fans because enough of us are there for it to be a profit. Now it's not just fun for the whole family. Of course, you want to make something that hits all audiences, but I think you can tailor it more towards your true fandoms of it without having to sacrifice much.
I think you can definitely tell James Gunn is a comic book fan at heart. Like, you could definitely tell his heart is in this, because I mean, he said it several times. He said that he grew up with Superman. He loves comics. He loves superheroes. He grew up with the Christopher Reeve era. He grew up with all that kind of stuff. So like, his heart is definitely in this project. And honestly, that's what's going to make this film good, in my opinion. I'm going to call it and say that this is going to be a hit, because I think, he's staking his entire, like, I'm not going to say reputation, obviously. I don't think reputation, but he's starting something new. And anytime you start something new, there's a little bit of gamble. There's a little bit of risk in that, But I think as fans of comic books, as fans of Superman, we're definitely in good hands. I think, if you weren't hyped for this movie before, seeing this fourth trailer, I think definitely got you hyped. Seeing Superman at his fullest capability, the flight scenes look crazy. I like the close up with the fight scenes, because it feels like you're flying at the same speed, like as Superman. He showcases his ability. I think it goes from, like, with the Snyderverse, that's always what this is going to get compared to, because you're not going to compare it to a movie from 50 years ago. You're not going to compare it to Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
But you're going to compare it to the Snyderverse just 10 years ago. So it's like, for me, it's just a difference of stylistic choice. That's literally what it just comes down to. And so I don't know. I like it. It's won me over. It truly has won me over.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I'm excited for it. Only a few more weeks. So
a few more weeks, we will be giving a full review on this movie. Obviously, we're probably gonna have this. Probably gonna take up almost the whole show when it comes out. So this was a topic that I remember you sent this to me earlier in the week. Was AI is rising in the gaming world. There's a lot of things actually with, like, obviously AI is taking over in a lot of industries,
right?
But gaming's no different. We've seen that with GTA 6 coming out. It's gonna have some AI in it. We've already seen it with Fortnite introducing AI in it. So let me get your thoughts on, like, where do you think this is pushing gaming in terms
Well,
of
I think that it could be a great thing. I just hope it doesn't allow developers to be lazy. But I think in games, especially that use a lot of computer simulation, especially like in responses. So I think like um so I originally what made me think of it was I heard I forgot who it was. I think it was Ben Kurt, the former QB. He does a lot of testing for the EA and college football games. He said that the new Madden and the new NCAA, whenever you play the computer, it's going to use AI to abolish tendencies. So you won't be able to spam the computer. But also in your coach suggestions, they're going to give you plays. AI is going to give you like predictive capabilities based on the plays of it. So it's going to feel more like a simulation. And I was like, well, that's dope because that's going to add more comp to the computer. You know, like in those games, you can probably exploit one thing that the computer just doesn't do, and you just do it every time. You know, like especially in the sports games, you hit like what was that, like Madden 16, where that little corner post with the tight end was open every time.
For sure.
Right. I think that just opens up a lot of capabilities with like fighting games or any game where the computer is going to have to be responsive and reactive. I think it's just is going to be cool. And you know what that kind of made me think of was that something that came out. I don't know how big you are into Lord of the Rings, but the game Shadow of Mordor.
Right.
They had a very cool system, which I hate that Warner Brothers still has a patent on it and won't sell it to nobody else, and they won't make another game. But the Shadow of Mordor's game had a very cool system called the Nemesis system, right? And while AI wasn't as popular as it is then, AI is something, spoiler alert world, AI is something that's been around a long time. The fact that we can use it now means that other companies have been using it forever, right? So they use something called the Nemesis system, and what it would adapt to every time that you were defeated by enemy, a boss, a grunt, or whatever. They would move up in ranking, and it would kind of affect on how they see you. So, you know, you might get spotted by a bigger boss now. Like if you work your way up, be all stealthy, you kill a bunch of grunts, and then you get killed by a big boss. All right, now the lieutenant to that boss and all other things are going to perceive you different, so it's going to affect your difficulty. It essentially makes it harder every time you die, right? And I think that was probably like the first glimpse of AI, which we kind of just didn't really understand it was AI at the time. But I think that with the rise of AI just in all areas touching, I think that possibility is like endless for, you know, games where the system itself you're going to have to battle, not just, you know, against your friends or things like that. So I'm very, very curious to see where that goes in new games.
For me, I think it comes down to just it adds a new level of realism to games. It adds, you know, it could be the good thing in that sense of adding realism, adding new challenges. I like the idea of AI, you know, learning as it goes, and as it learns, it becomes more challenging, especially for like those games where, you know, those level-based games where you have to advance in some kind of way. AI can be a useful tool in just making the CPU, as you say, just more challenging. More a CPU of being able to adapt and learn and, you know, figure that out. Because I mean, games for the longest operated on patterns, you know,
right?
Especially boss fights, you operated on patterns. So making boss fights more challenging. That AI is good for all of that. We know this. I think adding a level of realism, like I said, you know, we got the GTA announced with how it's using AI with its NPCs. Now you start to also see that with other role-playing games, how they're using AI to animate the NPCs, give the NPCs more depth, right? I think all that's good and dandy. To your point, though, that what you mentioned earlier, I think was pretty powerful, was that could it make developers lazy, right? Could it make could we see in the future possibly that developers use AI to maybe cut corners here and there? I don't necessarily know what that looks like. I don't necessarily know what that would entail, you know, like how do you, what would you use AI for in order to like cut corners for a game?
I would say probably if you get into like those story mode games, you know, what's stop you from going Chat GPT? Hey, Chat GPT, I need a dialogue or a storyboard or a framework for an original game where the main character has superpowers, has ice superpowers, and his brother gets stolen. All right, boom, you get just a generic ass dialogue. You do a few tweaks there, and it's like, okay, well, that's what that is. But it's kind of like, damn, there's no creativity behind it. There's no human element behind it. No idea, no twist, no, little things like that I think could be in the art of gaming. Because I mean, unfortunately, as technology advances, people typically go two ways. You either get people who find ways to be more innovative with that technology, or find ways to be more innovative to do less work
or cheat it.
Multiplayer. Multiplayer is the perfect example of developers have gotten lazy with multiplayer. We've seen a decline in actual game modes that come in these games. Like games be like, oh man, it's X amount of hours, but it's really just one mode and multiplayer. There's no mini games, no puzzles, no other stuff that you can do in it. So, I just don't want it to be lazy, but I am excited for the possibilities of it, because it does add another piece of technological depth. And I mean, AI itself is just a computer learning in real time. Right. So I would love to see like simulation games, like I said, games where you have to go against the computer. The computer is adversarial. I grew up on single player games, so I would love to see, finding ways, like you said, to break that pattern.
Another thing I think we could consider is maybe the personalization and customization of games. I mean, I remember a couple episodes back on Nerdology, we talked about like the rumor that EA was flirting with the idea of making an AI based video game that you created the narrative, you created the story, the world, and everything as the user, right? So I mean, that's another aspect I think that we can't ignore. Is just how it would make games. It opens up the possibility of how we play video games, how we develop video games.
I think they kind of been soft launching stuff like that, like with the GTA custom servers that you can do on PC. You know, I think that's kind of been like a soft launch of, okay, we're gonna make all games to where it's like, don't get me wrong, it's cool, it's creative to see that, but I would just hesitate, creatives really kind of modding these games to eventually you're going to start doing the work for the developers for them, and we're just going to be paying $70-$80 for a disc or a platform for us to work on their game for them. So
or like I would say that, or maybe like we're paying for the AI service. Like that's a whole separate thing,
Yeah, and it's like, listen, sometimes, hey man, I work. So whenever I want to play a game, I just want to play a game. I'm not trying to build that bitch right now.
I mean, like,
I can see how it can be fun, and I think if you give us that in a limited dose, I think that can be fun and creative. But don't essentially give us a blank canvas of a game,
right?
And say, go out there and create it. Because then at that point, you only need one game, because then we can make every game.
Yeah, I think it definitely can go overboard. But like this is with anything AI, like we know that they're already working to put systems in place to limit what AI can do.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it could be something that pushes gaming, definitely could push gaming forward, and bring us into a new era of games, even in VR, honestly. So there's a lot of the good that can come with it. I think that just making sure that we temper the bad, right? Make sure we make, like, developers obviously like not cutting corners, getting lazy, or giving us a blank canvas and telling us to do all the work. So it's interesting. That's something we wanted to follow. I thought that was just a good topic that you brought up, and I wanted to make sure we touched on that too. So a lot, believe it or not, too. Like, I actually think that in starting next year, especially when GTA 6 comes out, GTA 6 is going to be the launching point where we see AI become very standard in games. Like right now, it's more like the new innovative thing if a developer can afford it.
Right.
And some AI is better than others, but once GTA 6 comes out, I think it's going to become like a standard in the game.
Whatever developer team masters it first, they're going to have a hit on their hands.
Oh, of course.
I can definitely say that.
Right. So we're still keeping track of sports game season. We know that both the football games will be coming out within the next 2 months. Obviously, NBA 2K is going to be coming out in I think September-ish usually. But right now we're focused on the football games, the two big ones, college football 26, Madden 26. And that had me thinking, right? That had me thinking. So we are obviously people, the Madden community, a lot of them, people have complained over Madden over the last few years. Madden has declined. Obviously, we know that college football 25 was a huge success last year. So it had me thinking of, well, what if you and I brainstormed both of our versions of an ideal, perfect simulation football? How will and we can use past models and examples to do that. So for example, I broke it down into 4 categories. We had gameplay physics, career mode, franchise mode, an arcade style mode, and then immersion and presentation. Right. Okay. So I'll go first. Right. I was gonna say to start off with gameplay physics. If I had to build my perfect football simulation game, I would say let's use the physics from college football 25. I think when it came to physics and gameplay, that was the best football game we got, period. The graphics were amazing. It felt amazing. Passing mechanics was good. And I'm excited to see how they build on it in 26. But 25, I thought was, so far, from what we got, that's good for gameplay physics.
I agree. The speed, the fluidity, the animations were cool. You had one thing I always like in sports games is not always the crazy animations, but the animations that look very realistic, like stuff that you can actually see, like something as simple as the wide receiver used his left forearm to fend off the cornerback and catch the ball in his pocket or something like that. The little things like that. So I would say offensively, yes, use college football 25. Defensively, give me Madden 16.
Madden 16 defense was good.
Madden 16 defense. Or not Madden 15 defense, sorry. Before they introduced the aggressive catch and all that shit. Yeah.
I would still go with 16 for defense, but I see what your point is. Career mode. I'll let you take over. So career mode.
I'm bringing it back. Madden 05, 06, PS2 Superstar mode.
Yes.
I want. You got to go through combine drills. You can even do. We can even do a road to glory where you upload your player thing. But I want to do the combine drills. I want the interviews. I want you got to pick your agent. I want whenever you hit the calendar. Are you going to this event this day? Oh, you got hurt. Are you taking this endorsement? I want the whole 9 yards. Don't make it like 2K where you just replace a menu hub with running around everywhere. But give me the experience of it's like, okay, career, and let me experience getting drafted. If I do poorly at the combine, let me fall. Let me go to a team that makes sense. If I'm a quarterback, don't draft me to the Chiefs in the second round.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make sense. Or don't let me just pick my team unless I'm an undrafted free agent, unless I just do bad, But if I'm an undrafted free agent, then my rating be low. So I'm all for that in the career modes. Let me work my way up. I want to be a player. So and don't put a storyline in there. Not with football. In football, you don't need a storyline in it.
I was gonna go in a different direction. I had 2 ways I could go with this. So I'm gonna start with my favorite one. I was gonna go Madden 07 with Sean Alexander on the cover.
Okay.
As far that superstar mode, put that as my career mode for my perfect game, or NBA 2K16 with the Spike Lee story.
Okay.
I thought that was dope. So if you put that as like a football version of that, I think that's
only if Spike Lee does it, then that's it. That's the only story behind Alex. Only Spike.
In terms of a story that's up there as like one of the best.
RP Young Basquiat.
Yo, listen, that
and the real Basquiat.
The way it ended with like Vic, bro, is like, that's up there as one of the best stories in terms of a career mode. So that it's either those two for career mode for me. We'll keep going in like this little snake format. Franchise mode. This one I had to think about, kind of like this was hard for me as far as franchise mode. So there's the past NCAAs with their dynasty modes that I thought were all pretty good. I played the most was NCAA 13 with RG3. That dynasty mode was a good franchise mode. You and I know this a lot, but Madden 16 had a good franchise mode. I thought
it did.
We played a lot in high school. But if I'm gonna go Madden 16 franchise mode for, I thought it was just the interface, the menu of the, it wasn't clunky. You could manage your players pretty easily. The trade system was not
fair.
It was fair. It wasn't like perfect, but it was fair.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Madden 15 where you could get basically just take a couple
random running backs and then just go at everybody.
Yeah. It was fair. And I think the player development system in that game was also pretty fair,
Yeah.
So for me, I'm gonna go Madden 16 for franchise.
Yeah. Franchise mode, I'm actually go from scratch. So and I've heard some good things about what's supposed to be in Madden 26. So I'm not gonna say I'm pulling from there because they be lying. So I will say this. I want the old Madden scouting system back where you can just spend the points. I don't need to go through spend the points and look at the combine, but don't tell me everything. But I don't need to go through hiring the scouts and then randomly getting updates. I don't know who's doing what. It's basically a crapshoot. So I don't need all that. Right. But I do think that the menu interface should be simple. I think they should update the positions because it's no longer just D tackle 1, D tackle 2, defensive end, all that. No, it's nose, edge. Give me a nickel. You know what I'm saying? Give me a slide.
That's what you're saying. Yeah. Detail the positions a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. So just do modern detail of the positions because of just how people play more. Like is TJ Watt a defensive end or a linebacker? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say just the positions. I say with an online franchise mode, the biggest thing should be, well, honestly, online and offline, more contracts flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be more than just a bonus, and I would say contract logic too. So it should be more than just a bonus and salary. I think we should be able to adjust certain things, not necessarily full-on guarantees or incentives, but even as generic as like, hey, do you want to make this contract more incentive-based? What are some of the goals? Like you could do just some of like the generic goals in it. Just be like, 500 yards, you get this much money in there. Or, something like that. And then give us the same contracts of whenever we're picking the free agents in the middle of the season. Instead of just having to pay them whatever they ask for. Little things like that. So I think that should definitely be implemented. As far as for online franchise goes, I think they pretty much nail it with that. I would just say update the trade logic. Let you trade, keep the 6 slots. I think 6 is more than enough. If you're overdoing 6, then you're probably getting fleeced.
Yeah.
If you give them more than 6 items for a player, you're probably getting fleeced.
Yeah, you definitely.
So just keep the trade logic, update that, make sure it's more fair. Because in Madden, you'll have to trade somebody for a second round pick, and then in real life they go for like a 6. So
yeah. Okay. All right, fair. Start from scratch, I say. You say. Arcade style. A couple different directions you can go with this. I'm gonna go I was gonna say mascot mode from the NCAA's was cool as an arcade style.
So fun. I hope they bring that back.
But I think they actually are, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna go Superstar KO for Madden 20. That was a lot of fun. And I think it was fun because it was kind of like I could play basically 7v7 football. Me and my friends could be on the same team. One dude could be a wide receiver. One dude could be the quarterback going against another team defense. So the Superstar KO for Madden 20 on down up until last year. I think last year was lame. That was a cool arcade mode that I think I'm gonna go for. I liked it a lot.
So I'm gonna go just a little bit different direction with the mode. Instead of just making it a game mode, I'm gonna go arcade style gameplay. And I think that anything that's not you play, anytime that you play arcade and competitive should be like what and what. Should be like in the same. They should be under the same coding, right? Because I feel like whenever you play another user, you want the fun animations. You know, whether you're playing somebody online or you're playing somebody, you know, just right next to you. We don't need simulation gameplay. Whenever we're playing somebody if you're in an online franchise with other people, whenever you play them, it should automatically be arcadey, right? Give us the big catches, give us the super jukes, give us the Saquon hurdles, you know, like that's the stuff that we want to see. Give us the shiftiness of Ashton Genty in playing NCAA. So I want that to be like kind of standard across the board for just the 1v1 gameplay. And then to come off of that, bring back legends. This is one thing that 2K does is very good in sports teams. Bring back the historic teams. You know, and NCAA is too many schools to bring back one from every school. But like you can find, and same thing with Met, like you don't have to do like an all-time team for everybody, but like you can find some of the great college football teams, the iconic college football teams, the iconic NFL teams, and bring those back. And then give us, I believe it was ironically Madden 25, not the 25th anniversary, not, you know, the year 25. Remember they had the Canton team versus the all-pro team, or like the modern day, whatever.
The all Madden team,
yeah. Bring those back as well. Like, let us play with our legends. Imagine popping it, because you already kind of do it in MUT, so you have the capability for it.
Right.
So let us be able to do it in like quick game, bro. Let me see if the 01 Miami team is actually better than the 2019 LSU team. You know, like let us have that fun. Let us have that matchup. Let us have the what year were we in, like middle school? The AJ McCarron,
like the early 2010s.
Yeah, like that
2013, 2012.
Let's call it like the 2012 Bama team. You know, let's play with them, right? Where they had like all the running backs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah, like bring that back, or bring that to the game. You know, let us enjoy the legends from it.
I would definitely endorse that, man. I would love to be able to play as like historic teams. I remember back in Madden 04, you could play as historic teams. I think actually, I don't know when they took that out. I think in Madden 07 you could do that too.
They took it out in 25 because they always had the. Eventually, they just bottled it up to like the Hall of Fame team.
Right.
And that was always the case until it was Madden. I want to say Madden 13 or 14. They just took it out. But you know, you could always plug in, and because remember that was around the time that Brady got like his 4th ring, and everybody was like, "Oh, Brady, Montana," and so that used to always be the thing. So yeah, bring that back, man.
So, final category is immersion and presentation. And I think for me, this is kind of a no-brainer. I think it's NFL 2K5 when it comes to presentation. I mean, I like the Chris Bertman. I like the ESPN presentation with it. I like how it felt like a game day on Sunday. I thought the commentators were pretty good. You know, I think a modern version of that. And it's so crazy to me how like the NFL, or I'm sorry, not the NFL, but EA has all this money and yet they cannot get like a presentation package. They can't get a CBS or ESPN. I remember in the early 2010s, the NCAAs had basically like college game day.
Yeah.
You know, like they had ESPN presentation. So you got NFL 2K5, you got the NCAAs all with the ESPN presentation. That was just so clean. It was so smooth.
Give us McAfee in college football. Give us McAfee, please.
Also, am I tripping? Didn't EA make NBA Live? And NBA Live had ESPN.
Yes, branded? That's exactly what I was gonna do for mine. That's exactly what I was gonna pick for mine was NBA Live 19 mixed with Madden 07 for the presentation. Madden 07 for the halftime for sure in there, because remember how they used to like break down some of your highlights and highlight stuff that you did wrong. I always thought that was like really cool. point blank period, the immersion and presentation needs to feel like that I'm watching the game.
Yeah. Right.
That's point blank period. You can use real faces, you can just use real voices. I know NBA Live, they had Stephen A. and Max doing it. And this is where AI can come into play, because just get the AI to talk in their voice. Once you have their voice down, get the AI to create dialogue in their voice and reacting to the game, reacting to what happened. So this is where AI can come into play. I don't see anything like that happening in the next year, maybe next 2 years, but I expect to see that moving towards the future. Like, I need to feel like I'm actually in the game. I need the graphics to feel like I'm in the game. Not even so much as halftime, but especially like in like the beginning. Like if it's a Sunday night game, have the running out the tunnel, have the music playing, show some of the highlights of that you captured from my other games, like whenever we're like in the playoffs and stuff, So yeah, I think presentation, if these sports games get that down, like again, don't focus so much. Of course the gameplay is important, but what sports games have an advantage of is brand loyalty. And it's not even brand loyalty to you, the game, is brand loyalty to the sport. Right. So the majority of people are never going to play on a professional competitive level. So give us the feeling of being that. That's what your job is the game, to get us as close to that feeling as possible.
Right. No, I agree with that. And I mean, just getting that, like, all what you said, getting this to that game day feel and present, like NBA Live is actually interesting. I think that's a good take as well. To go with that as far as that presentation. I think what was the NBA Live with Embiid on the cover? Was that 19?
Yeah,
something like that. I thought that was a good presentation. I chose the only reason why I thought 2K5, NFL 2K5 edged out the NCAA games for me was because in the halftime you had Chris Berman's fastest 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. To me, that's just iconic. This is dope. So, yeah, man. Like, we're gonna learn a lot, obviously, with these two games: the NCAA 26, Madden 26, or college football 26. I should say. And when these deep dives start cranking out, we're gonna obviously hit them hard with analysis, breaking them all down for you guys, and Just Time Sports will be back on the show to help analyze and give some of his sports expertise on the games and what he's looking for.
Definitely. We should be getting gameplay soon because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, College Football 25 was out in July.
Yeah, we're like weeks away. It's right here.
It's a little late. I'm surprised they're actually kind of late on like a trailer.
I thought so too.
Late, but hey,
I thought that we were a little late on a trailer. I think we're a little late on gameplay because I feel like by this time last year we had at least we had the trailer.
Now they've had leaked gameplay. They've had leaked gameplay. And so some of the stuff I've seen from that, like just screenshots of it, it's a lot of customization that you do in College Football 25. I expect some of that to translate over to Madden, but you never know with those guys. But you could do things like stunts. You can set up like quicker substitution packages, like dynamic substitution, so you can have them run out in the field and stuff like that. So it seems pretty cool. So I think that's gonna be. Yeah. So it's a lot more customization. It's really into your strategy bag. Which, I mean, gameplay aside, I felt that Madden and NCAA did very well with that, giving us the option to kind of get into your football chess bag. But again, like I said, that's cool whenever you're playing the CPU. When you're playing your homeboy, forwards, I want to wash you. So
lots of information that's gonna be coming out in the next few weeks, guys. We're gonna be obviously hitting that, talking about that. I can't wait. Sports game season is actually my favorite season when it comes to gaming, and that's only because it's almost like the piece of gold that you dangle, that piece of shiny jewelry that you dangle in front of us, because it's always like it's gonna be the same game, but you're just hoping that something different just wows you.
Honestly, it's because the anticipation for the sports season, especially football fans, like we're primarily football fans, so it's like just the anticipation of what's going to be in the next season you just kind of want to, like I said, sports games, your fans are going to pay you because they want to feel a part of the sport, not because you just put out such a great product. So the least you can do is reward us with a little bit of effort.
Right. We're gonna kind of end the show a little early tonight, so we can get prepared for my first Twitch stream. So we're gonna switch over to that. So be sure to tune in on that. Like, follow, subscribe to both our channels. But before we go, you want to tell the people what's coming up in IMS?
IMS Studios YouTube channel. Come check us out. We have a NBA Finals recap. So actually, Game 4 is going on right now. So we're gonna have a recap of the first 4 games coming up. We're gonna have a special guest on for that, as well as episode of Hey Jai from the Couch. Had a nice little guest interview coming up with that. So really excited to release that. And starting next week, IMS Studios will be doing live streams from Twitch. So catch us out on a Saturday, just coming in, hanging out. Might be some gameplay, might be some react to some videos. Who knows? Just talking. Kind of freestyling the first couple. If you've been with IMS and NIT Pod and all the other names that we've gone through over the years, you know that we actually started on Twitch just freestyling. So yeah, man, looking forward to it.
Cool. I mean, lots of things happening for us. We're all doing big things, like I said. So be sure to follow both our channels. Keep up with both of us. We're going to be all dropping just some content. That's all we're trying to do is just drop the best content for you guys, and we're trying to get better and better each time we do it. So, just keep rocking with us, keep growing with us, and until the next week, we'll see you on another week of Nerdology. Peace.